like to go revisit the word goals because you have
Yeah.
one in there called goals or guesses, and I know I agree. I've written a blog on that too, so I'd love to hear you talk about the idea of like reframing goals as evolving possibilities.
Yeah, I love that. Possibilities are really nice. What I'm trying to point at there is the word goal has become so loaded. There's that Harvard study. I know I should have goals. The Harvard study turns out didn't even exist, which is really funny. But I know I should have goals. All smart people, all successful people have goals. But I noticed over the last 25 years of asking clients, like literally maybe like the first question back in the old days could have been like, what are your goals? Anytime you ask, I mean, I'd ask your listeners to just think about like, how does that feel when you're like, what are your goals? And I feel it, the base of my, like between my shoulder blades, at the base of my neck and a little bit of my chest, sort of like pressure and like tension. And there's also this sense of like, I got to get it right. And the goals or guesses is just an effort to make it more playful. Like we don't really know anyway. All goals are just guesses. Like some of them, sometimes we have to convince ourselves that they're really, really important. And sometimes we call those strong opinions loosely held. But we can't tell one half of our brain can't know about the loosely held part. Because like we got to be so focused on meeting the goals. But in the back of our mind, we're like, hey, by the way, you're allowed to change them. And so that's all I'm saying. Like, let's make it a little more playful. Goals are it's just a guess. Relax. Guess for me. Like, what do you think you'd like to be doing in 10 years? Oh, okay, cool. And then that acts as sort of like a stake in the ground. We can kind of head that direction. Because I promise you, we'll get new information tomorrow or next week or next year that you'll be like, you know what? I thought I'd really like sailing. I went sailing. I don't like it. Right? Like that's just meant to be a suggestion to the mind to relax a bit.
When you say that, it reminds me of when you had Gretchen Rubin on your podcast and she told the
Yeah,
story about skiing.
it's so good. Yeah, I'll just, for your listeners, recap it real quick. She was at a cocktail party, a dinner party, something, and they had either just come or they were just headed to, I can't remember. Can you remember?
They were
I
heading.
think, yeah, I think they were just headed out to Colorado or yeah, probably Colorado, not Utah, because the skiing's terrible in Utah. Don't come to Utah. It's just sort of a joke. But they were headed to Colorado, and somebody else, she mentioned that to somebody at the party, and the other person was like, "Oh, do you ski?" And Gretchen was like, "No," and she's pretty sure of it, right? Like, no, we don't ski. We've decided, my husband and I don't like, we do not ski. We just like going to the mountains in the winter. And the other person was like, "You've got to ski. You've got it so fun," and took like a few minutes to try and convince her about skiing. Gretchen was like, "No, we don't ski." And the lady left. She came back 15, 20 minutes later or something and said, "You know what? I don't like skiing either. I just have been doing it because that's what you do." And I think that was such a great, I mean, kudos to both of them, right? Mm-hmm. Especially the lady that came back. I mean, I love that Gretchen was so sure of just, "No, we don't like it. Thank you for the suggestion." But I love that the lady came back and was like, "Wait." And I think what we're saying by goals equals guesses, we're giving you permission to be okay with being like, "Wait, that's just something my dad told me to do," or "This is my sister-in-law's goal," or "I read about it on Instagram. I don't even like it. I don't even like it." We had a friendship recently where we realized, and this applies to friendships, it's okay for you to wake up one day and go, "I don't really even enjoy spending time with that person." Right? And turns out they probably might not even enjoy spending time with me. It's okay to make changes and evolve and change. So goals equals guesses. Goals equal
I love
guesses.
that. I love that. And as you're saying it, I'm thinking about the fact one of the things I've told my kids, and if I look at my career, this really applies, is the idea that don't go through life with these blinders on, that you're just looking down this narrow path, because there may be something way out to the side that you're only going to see because you didn't have those blinders blocking your vision. It's like, when I look at my career, I mean, it's made so many changes and I'm finally doing the thing that I like, but it never would have happened if I had always had like this narrow pathway and this is the only way to go.
Everything you're saying, Phil, is really interesting. This whole conversation just reminds me of all the tension. And there's an essay in the book called "When Values Collide" that I'm sort of really proud of, just because it's pointing to this idea, like there is a time to just lock the blinders on, right? Burn the ships, they say, like burn the boats. Get rid of all the options. And boy, stick your head up every once in a while and look around. And maybe there's whole chunks of your life Like I would suggest that college is one of those chunks. Early dating is one of those chunks where you should get as many variable reps as you can. Maybe the sport you want to participate in when you're 10, 11, 12. Like I think some of the best parenting advice I ever got was like, sign him up for lots of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there are times that I think we're intentionally supposed to be exposed to a lot of things. Then there's other times when we want to lock down. I love this. I'm going to lock down. Awesome. Then remember, it's going to probably come up again. So I love this tension between competing variables, competing values, because the truth is, we're not trying to resolve that tension. A rich life is made because of that tension with plenty of periods of rest, right?